I don't know about you, but I am incredibly terrified of what's going to be coming down the pipe in the next generation of video games. I'm scared because of what we're seeing right now in this generation, albeit the tail end of it. We're seeing game consoles increase in price exponentially, with the Xbox Series X Galaxy Edition model, the 2 terabyte version, costing $800. We're seeing the PS5 Pro before the disc drive cost $750. We're seeing Nintendo introduce $80 video games and variable pricing. And the craziest part is you're paying more and getting less. But today we're going to talk about one specific device and one only. That is the PlayStation 5 Pro. Now, I've had my criticisms about this console for multiple months. Hell, dare even say about a year now. And seeing this device cost that much money and provide such little benefit has not been, let's say, the funnest thing to cover. Seeing as how people have been coping themselves about it the entire time. Trying to basically will themselves into some sort of like sunk cost fallacy copium inhalation that you see over and over again.
Oh, GTA 6 will be 60 FPS on the Pro.
Nobody knows what's going to happen with that console. Nobody knows what's going to happen with that game, especially. And spending that amount of money for one game specifically, in my opinion, doesn't make a lot of sense. Especially seeing as how games are progressing this generation, or whatever's left of it, more and more games are either having worse implementation of the PS5 Pro itself, or even at the same time, not getting it at all. So when I say things like, yes, the PS5 Pro is a scam, it's not because I hate my PlayStation, even though I've got a PS2 sitting right here next to me on my desk, even though I've got more PlayStation games than most fanboys. The reason why I say it's a scam is because of the cost of the actual console and the performance and uplift that you're getting, and at the same time, the lack of control you're having in that device. That PS5 Pro should cost $499. The PS5 should cost $299. That is what these consoles should be costing right now. The fact that the PS5 got a price increase and the PS5 Pro did as well does not bode well for next generation, especially with people talking about how it's going to be this 5080 performance kind of monster or 10x rasterization, because nobody really understands what's actually happening. These are onboard APUs that have the GPU and the CPU put together on the same side. They're thermal limited. They're limited in what they can do. You're not talking about having a $2,000 or $1,200 GPU slapped into a device for $700 or even less. I feel like you're going to get the exact kind of performance. And the price isn't the only reason why the PS5 Pro is a scam. It's also a scam because you don't have control of the device itself. You're always set behind whatever the developer is choosing to do with that device on its own. Being stuck onto a console platform means one thing and one thing only. Unless the developer tries to go ahead and say, hey, we're going to design for this device, you're so that extra $750 that you spent on getting an upgrade for that console is wasted, because if the dev doesn't do the proper work correctly, then you're having a worse experience. Or even that side, you don't even have granular control of what's going on. And the crazier part is watching games like Silent Hill F, Metal Gear Solid 3 Delta, and so many others prove that in spades. Push Square tweeted this out the other day. PS5 Pro users are starting to feel a little shortchanged after poor or absent support. Here's my real big issue about consoles in general right now. This entire idea that it has to be simplified and easy for the regular consumer is honestly a whole bunch of bullshit. The majority of you guys who buy these kinds of consoles, who go through and are buying things like the Pro for better performance or better visuals, are actually the ones who are watching Digital Foundry, who are going through and are in fact the most hardcore of gamers. You guys should have the ability to go through and adjust visual settings to your liking. You should be able to adjust graphical settings, resolutions, motion blur, and everything else under the sun, including ray tracing, in a dedicated options menu. This thing of like, oh, it has to have a performance mode, it's got to have a quality mode, it's got to have a performance quality balanced mode. That is more confusing and honestly more annoying than just giving you guys the actual options menu. Imagine if you had that ability right there in your own space. You wanted to hit 60 FPS no matter what on your device. Having those options letting having you do that is the way to go. You shouldn't be tied down to a developer going through and not giving you the option in the first place, number one, and then number two, not giving you the best ability for you to make that choice on your own. Didn't you buy that device? Aren't you the one playing the video game, not the dev? Why do they get to have control over what you purchase and what you bought? It doesn't make any sense now, does it? And you know what? I've used this argument against console fanboys before, and even anybody who tries to compare consoles to PC, which of course is a stupid thing to do. And that first thing is this. Imagine if every time you upgraded your GPU, you had to wait for a patch from a developer to go through and use that GPU horsepower on an old game. That's an issue. And I've even seen the most ridiculous kind of responses to that as well. I mean, take a look. I tweeted this out yesterday saying, it's crazy how people will spend $800 on a PS5 Pro, yet they're still forced by the developers to implement that hardware. It's like having to wait for a quote patch in order to properly use a new GPU. Absolute insanity. Because Luis Oliveira said this to my response. Dying Light the Beast launched without any ray tracing features. It's crazy how people will spend over $2,000 on a 5090 and yet they're still forced by the developers to wait for a patch in the future in order to properly use the GPU. Absolute insanity. This is the actual dumbest shit I've ever heard. Besides other people saying, but what about drivers? You need those to run the games. Really just... It literally makes me short circuit in the first place. Not the fact that this guy has the triangle, square, circle, X in his profile name. We know exactly the kind of person we're talking to and dealing with. At the fact that you don't need ray tracing to take advantage of a 5090 or that kind of GPU. You can really just crank that thing to 11 and get 200 plus frame rates if you want to. That's the entire point. You can customize your experience no matter which way you want, and you should be able to do that on your consoles as well. But you know what? Let's not deviate too far though, because we're going to see some more idiocy later on in this video. But let's see what Push Square had to say about that topic. The PS5 Pro launched just under a year ago, promising AI-enhanced upscaling, smoother performance, and improved ray tracing. The $700 console is more powerful than a standard PS5 and generally runs games better. There are some particularly good examples, including Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Horizon Forbidden West, and Stellar Blade, that look and run better than ever. However, as time goes on, it's becoming clear that PS5 Pro's capabilities aren't being utilized consistently across developers and publishers. Lately, there have been several examples of games releasing with poor PS5 Pro support, or even none at all, leaving those who invested in the pricey console feeling miffed. Last year, Silent Hill 2 launched with support for the console, but it was extremely messy. Improvements have been promised, but have yet to fully materialize. More recently, Metal Gear Solid Delta Snake Eater arrived with purported PS5 Pro enhancements, only for analysts to find it actually falls below the regular PS5 in its current state. This is exactly why I call the PS5 Pro an actual scam. Not just because of the pricing on its own, but the fact that we are seeing games right now literally A, not be able to utilize the hardware you paid extra for and were basically sold snake oil on, but B, when it is implemented, and more recently so, you're starting to see games not even do it properly or even have a worse performance over the standard PS5 console. It basically goes to show that this generation on its own, not just the Pro version, was incredibly short-sighted and completely just shoved to the side. I don't understand why this right now is what we're seeing, where people are actually excited about next gen, with again getting less and paying more. Getting a PS5 Pro for the possible glimpse and hope of GTA 6 being 60 FPS, even though GTA is normally a 30 FPS game, took multiple generations to reach 60 FPS, and then at the same time going through and having just the exact same CPU, simply overclocked a little bit compared to the standard PS5. And seeing all these kinds of things unfold really puts things into perspective. A lot of people are buying new hardware in order to go through and satiate whatever feeling they have about getting a better experience. Yet right now you can guarantee and bet your sweet bippy that the best way to experience video games is not going to be on the console itself or spending close to $800 or more on a console platform. It's actually going to be spending $800 or more on the PC. Because let's be real, if you're trying to get the best bang for your buck, the best price to performance, or even the best performance in general, you're going to have to go through and get yourself a good PC. That's basically it. Starforge Systems, link in the description down below. Support your boy. Trust me. Best PCs in the universe. But it turns out those examples weren't the only ones that were having issues. Apparently, Silent Hill F is also a big concern on the PS5 Pro. With Push Square also tweeting this: Silent Hill F is another game that stumbles on PS5 Pro. With the article saying, as outlined in the new technical analysis from Digital Foundry, the survivor horror title offers just one graphical mode on the Pro, named Enhanced, and it comes with a very specific issue. A blend of the game's performance and quality modes found on base PS5, quote, Enhanced, hits a mostly smooth 60 frames per second, and a reasonable resolution that's apparently difficult to nail down, but it's pretty much on par with the, quote, quality mode offers. This is what you're paying for? This is what you guys celebrated? The fact you're trying to get quality mode on 60 FPS most of the time? This is what you guys thought was a 4070 Ti? This is what you guys thought was a 4090? This kind of idiotic, moronic behavior that we've seen over and over again? And you know what? Don't go ahead and just be like, Alex, nobody said the PS5 Pro was a 4090. Let's bring up the clip, baby.
We've been telling you that this thing was going to cost $700, and we told you and told you and told you. And instead of you all just saving your money, like we told you, you were like, well, I'll never do it. And guess what? This thing's more powerful than a 4090. It is. A friend of mine, he called me. He has a 4090. He was like, look, I struggle with this. You know, he said he's struggling with it because he's seen that this thing do things that the 4090 can't do. It's not going to do this. It's going to struggle.
We see this again and again with consoles, especially with what's going on in the hardware space. And now we're having rumors of the next Xbox being a 5080. You morons, you idiots, you clowns. I don't know why anybody is comparing NVIDIA architecture and NVIDIA GPUs to AMD architecture, because both consoles are being manufactured by AMD and designed by AMD. So why on earth would you even use a 5080 as a source of reference of what these consoles can actually do in performance wise? Like, does nobody think anymore? Do people just have like their own thought process and like AMD GPUs don't exist, Intel GPUs don't exist? Like, what is this moronic state that we have right now? The fact that the 9070 XT doesn't even do ray tracing like the 5080, and that GPU just came out. Now, who's to say what next gen is going to do? But at the same time, we have to stop sitting here and trying to say, oh, this console is going to perform better than dedicated hardware on a PC. No, it's not. And hell, if you even want to see it right from the horse's mouth, here's Digital Foundry saying it themselves.
Unfortunately, PS5 Pro does not fare particularly well with Silent Hill F. The developers have elected to take a familiar approach here, consolidating their mode offerings into a single, enhanced mode with PSSR, targeting 60 FPS. PSSR, unfortunately, does not work well at all with this title, producing an artifact-ridden image. Expect to see a constant peppering of coarse noise, with pulsing, strobing artifacts in areas with occluders like grass or debris. PSSR doesn't seem to like ray tracing effects, which require amortization and cleanup over many frames. And here I think we're finding some unfortunate interactions with Lumen GI here. I don't have a firm confirmation that the game is using PSSR and PS5 Pro, but these blemishes strongly suggest the technique. Internal resolutions come in a bit above 1080p here typically. Finding good pixel counts is tough in Silent Hill F because motion blur cannot be turned off on either PS5 system, so it's only possible to get a rough read on the game's internal counts in select shots. It's hard to guess at the output res, but PS5 Pro looks closer to the PS5 quality mode if I pull out still frames. The settings here otherwise seem similar to the PS5 modes. And when these modes have meaningfully different settings, it seems to shade closer to the PS5 performance mode. I don't have any problem if developers want to simplify their mode offerings for PS5 Pro users, and I don't have an issue necessarily with using PSSR. But if developers are going to make large changes for PS5 Pro users, they should ensure those changes produce an improvement over PS5. I'd rather have no Pro enhancement here, or ideally have a version of the game with boosted resolution figures while retaining TSR.
That is absolutely wild. People got mad at me for calling the PS5 Pro a scam. If this doesn't prove to you that this system has massive issues, it should not have been sold at that price point, I don't know what to tell you. In fact, other YouTubers who are known for doing analysis on video games even said this. El Analista de Bits tweeted this out. It seems quite curious to me that 4K is further from being achieved now than it ever was years ago with the PS4 Pro and the Xbox One X's. Undeniable that engines are becoming increasingly advanced and demanding, especially in lighting. But even then, the Analista's video shows this. The PS5 is upscaled to 4K at 30 FPS from quality mode at 720p. The PS5 also has a performance mode at 1800p at 60 FPS, upscaled from 720p to around 360p. The upscaled PS5 Pro is 2160p at 60 FPS, upscaled from around 720, and Digital Foundry even said sometimes 1080. Like, why are we even here? Just to suffer? Hell, on the PC port of Silent Hill F, I even noticed this. There was no ability to have native resolution. I was running 1440p as the internal resolution, but then it actually set it down to FSR quality mode. There was no option for native at all. Not with FXAA, not even with TAAA. And in those other two options, it locked it to balanced. While playing the game at certain spots, I was hitting 80 to 125 FPS. And even then, having that kind of resolution internally, what I'm actually rendering the game at to get those frame rates and that resolution of 1440p, well, in quotes, is actually 1706 by 960p. Like, what is this? Like, what are we even doing here? This is from AMD's own website. Like, what resolution? 960p? I can't even get 1080 from that? I have to use a resolution upscaler from that? This is honestly ridiculous. We're seeing engines that are bloated. We're seeing hardware that can't keep up. We're seeing devs not optimize their games. And then the worst thing is we're blaming it on the actual consumers and saying, oh, you didn't spend enough money for the most high-end piece of hardware. That's fucking stupid. It shouldn't be happening like that. Here's Nick Tech on Twitter saying this: Unreal Engine 5 that doesn't stutter, running at 360p to 720p internal resolution. We're back at the PS3 era of gaming. No, we really are. We've seen so many developers talk more about ray tracing, lumen, lighting, ambient occlusion, fog, SSAO, all the other bullshit that makes games run worse instead of actually providing a better picture quality in general. Remember that tweet we talked about earlier where the guy was like, this one game didn't have ray tracing, so now you gotta wait for a patch? I would rather a game not have ray tracing, have better resolution, play the game natively, and have a much better frame rate than deal with any of this bullshit right now of having to work with upscalers in general overall, and then getting scammed by buying a PS5 Pro who you were told was going to do everything so much better, and then get minimal quality upgrades, spending more money, getting a price hike on it, and then buying the actual disc drive separate to spend $800. Then on top of that, buy the online service to spend, what, 60 to 70 bucks a year for that too? It's stupid. It's a ripoff. It is in fact a scam. And if you want to see how the scam even persists, here's what Destin Legary said on Twitter. So, if you want to game today, September 2025, you can play on PC for around $800. You can play on PS5 Pro for $750, Xbox Series X for $600, PS5 for $500, Switch 2 for $450, Steam Deck for $400, Xbox Series S for $400. The PS5 Pro certainly stands out here for the wrong reasons. It absolutely does. It is way too expensive. I don't understand why this is even happening in the first place. Hell, Mike Ibarra even called Xbox out for raising the prices of their consoles, saying this: console price increases are not tariff issues, they are profit issues, and the reason why profits are not where they should be is a far deeper issue versus the tariff excuse. Yes, I don't normally agree with Ibarra. In fact, I've called him an Xbox generational hater multiple times, and he said a lot of really dumb things, talking about having to tip developers after you finish a game. No, I'm not kidding. He really did say that one time. But the thing is, he's actually right about this. Everyone's trying to blame the wrong thing when they should be blaming the actual companies themselves, trying to squeeze more profit out of a stone. But going back to Destin's tweet, the fact that people lost their minds about a possible $800 PC really shook me to the core. And seeing as how people think the PS5 Pro is a viable actual alternative to having high-end gaming, but not an $800 PC, really just gets things going. I mean, look at some of these replies. With Timmy Tim replying, finish the list, keyboard, monitor, mouse, headphones, speakers, and Destin replying, plug it into your TV, and sure, here's a $24 mouse and keyboard. And look at these other replies too. I literally just lost my mind about them. Generic Eric, no one gonna use a TV for a PC, especially since TVs are 4K and you'll be lucky to get 1080p out of this thing. Don't need an operating system? TVs are not optimized for PCs. Ah, yes, because everyone loves having their PC always connected to the main TV. Browsing web pages sure is a blast. I don't like to play with dog shit like this. We got a DualSense on PS5 that still needs wide connection to work on 5 PC games. The irony of these idiots talking about resolutions and TVs when their own consoles don't even hit the native 4K resolution of the Pro on their own TVs. It's really insane. And yes, you're going to have an aneurysm because it gets worse. Look at this. No keyboard, no mouse, no operating system, no Wi-Fi, no monitor, no speakers if you don't plan on using the TV. So a PS5 Pro is a good price then? Bro forgot a mouse, keyboard, and monitor to his $800. If you are a quote-unquote gamer, you would never buy this. In the ROTW, it's a $1,600 minimum PC. Good luck running modern games on this. Why don't you go ahead and add in the price of a monitor, mouse, keyboard there, Destin? Hell, some people may even need a computer desk and chair too. I know I did when I got my PC. Ugh, another Xbox fanboy switches to PC and praises PC. This is getting sad now. Have you lost your mind yet? Are you going out of your marbles right now? People are going through and adding the most ridiculous things. Ah, yes, let me go ahead and add the price of an extra controller, the online service fees, the couch, the TV, the nightstand, the fucking roof over my head, the mortgage for a console. There you go. There's $3,500 a month I gotta spend there. You idiots, clowns, and morons. You guys are sitting here trying to defend a plastic box and a console from going through and saying, oh, look, for getting more options on the PC experience, I can spend a little more money, get the same performance, maybe even better at sometimes, and so many other benefits with this. Again, proving to me and everybody else why the PS5 Pro is, in fact, a scam. If that bitch was $500 at $499 and didn't get a price hike, and the PS5 was actually $299 and the Pro got to play backwards compatible games, come with the actual disc drive and the stand in the box, hell, I would have gotten one, because I know at some point my PS2, those capacitors are going to blow and I'm going to have to find the new board to actually replace it on there. But this is what I'm talking about, sitting here and defending these consoles that don't give you a better experience, that are not used to their full capacity, where developers are even now restricting on what you can do and you're set at the mercy of them because you can't even utilize the hardware you spent the money on, is not the move. That's why I call that system a scam. That's why every time I see more games perform worse or have less features, I sit there and say, you shouldn't have bought that console, because now they're setting the precedent. They're being like, oh, it's okay. People are still buying these systems for this kind of price. That means we can jack it up next generation. And when we jack up the price, we can offer them less. And it happens again and again. That's why we talk about it on the actual GPU side as well, on how shitty NVIDIA's been the entire time, where now we're finally seeing GPU prices come back down. Look, if you like your PS5 Pro, enjoy your PS5 Pro. I'm not trying to poo-poo on you, but the fact is, if you're going to try and compare it to PC gaming, if you're going to try and use it in some sort of like weird console war behavior of trying to go through and be like, this is better than a 4090 PC and everything else across the board, you're going to look like a clown. And when you do, I'll be here to catch you. So you know what? I want to hear what you guys have to say about this scam in the comments section down below. Do you agree? Do you disagree? I want to hear what you guys have to say. If you want to see more of this kind of content though, more PC port reviews, gaming news, Steam Deck videos, fanboy content, and live streams every Saturday night, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, subscribe to the channel. We're on our way to 94,000 subs, and I just want to say thank you guys so very much. If you want Discord access and emotes during live streams, become a YouTube member. It's as low as $1. If you don't want to spend the buck, don't sweat it. Just come on down Saturday nights, 8:45 p.m. Eastern, live right here on this channel as I get insulted with AITTS for about 4.5 to 5 hours with 800 people while wearing a banana suit. Trust me, you don't want to miss it. With all that being said though, thank you guys so much for watching. Hope you have a great one, and I'll see you gooners next time. Peace!